All right, folks, as we said, we're taking you out to that news conference out in Wisconsin where police are holding a conference in the case of 3-year-old missing Elijah.
I would like to first thank you all for taking the time to be here, and also to those of you watching or listening in. Your unwavering concern and support for Elijah has been greatly appreciated by all of us. Today we're holding this press briefing to provide you updates in regards to the search for Elijah Vu. Since the moment that we took the call on February 20th of this year for Elijah Vu being missing, Elijah has been our top priority and will remain our top priority. Because we are committed to open and honest communication with our community, we are holding this press briefing. Chief Ben Meinert of the Two Rivers Police Department will be sharing important updates with you all. Meinert's last name is spelled M-E-I-N-N-E-R-T. We will not be taking any questioning during or following the press briefing because we are already sharing all of the information that we are able to provide to you at this time. There will be a packet available for you containing the information that Chief will be sharing, and I will provide that to you following the press briefing. Chief Meinert.
Thank you all for being here. Last Saturday, Sheriff Hartwig called me immediately upon learning his deputies were responding to investigate a report of skeletal remains found by someone in the town of Two Rivers. With night falling near, the entire area was secured while a variety of resources were gathered to investigate. Ultimately, a forensic anthropologist with the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratories was able to confirm a skull and bones as human remains. On Sunday, my staff assisted the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office, Department of Justice, Division of Criminal Investigation, and the Wisconsin Crime Lab with recovery of those remains and any associated evidence. The intentions of our team were to first notify family of the discovery and then alert the public. Prior to that, however, reports went out on social media and other platforms, some of which were false and most of which had yet to be confirmed. While we do feel it's important to share information with the public, our first priority is Elijah and the integrity of the investigation, as well as communication with the family. These are the facts that I can share. The remains were found on private property by a person getting his land ready for the hunting season. This land was not on Manitou Girl Scout camp property, but rather a thick wooded area with heavy underbrush, just to the north of Manitou. This location is just over 3 miles northwest of where he originally was reported missing. This area had been searched several times, as had been reported, by law enforcement searches, by private searches, by the landowner, by air, and with various search and rescue teams. Despite all those previous efforts and throughout different conditions and changing seasons, we continued searching and even had continued searches scheduled as early as next week. The remains found by the hunter and recovered by law enforcement were taken to the Wisconsin Crime Lab for DNA testing to identify the person. It is with a heavy heart that I announce to you today those remains were identified as Elijah Vu. With that news and following this briefing, the Amber Alert will be canceled. As soon as Elijah was identified, we notified his family. I ask that you respect them and allow them to grieve. The area where Elijah was located is private property, and we ask that you respect the private property owner and avoid that area. This is not the outcome that we hoped for. The family's devastated, we're devastated, our community's devastated. I never met Elijah, but I watched that 3-year-old boy bring out the best in this community. I can't thank the public and our businesses enough. Thank you, DCI, for continuing to lead this investigation, FBI for their support, and our local, state, and federal law enforcement and fire departments, as well as the numerous neighboring agencies. I'd also like to thank all the churches, schools, all the search and rescue groups, and our residents and the family members. Thank you to all that the various city employees have done. The efforts of all of you and many others help bring conclusion to this phase of the investigation. What started out as a search for a missing boy is now a death investigation. Although we understand your desire for information, we can't share every detail, and we must maintain the integrity of the investigation. We know the family and the community has a lot of questions. This is a process that will take a great deal of time, and we'll do everything we can in this investigation to answer those questions. Going forward, we'll continue to share updates provided from DCI and the Manitowoc County DA. We will receive them, and we will continue to be your sole source of accurate information. Now that we know the location of where Elijah was located off Christy Bob Lane and Manitou Drive, we ask that anybody with any information, if you haven't previously provided it or you think it may be useful in this investigation, to please contact law enforcement. Again, my assistant chief will provide you with the information on how to do so if you can. And again, thank you all for being here.
Can we expect a death investigation or autopsy?
Sorry, as a reminder, there will not be any questions.
That autopsy results will be confirmed.
As Chief said, if you have any information that you feel would be beneficial for this investigation, please contact Detective Lieutenant Glazer of the Two Rivers Police Department at 920-686-7200. Again, that's Detective Lieutenant Glazer, Glaser, at the Two Rivers Police Department at 920-686-7200. As Chief Meinert said, we too are devastated by this news. Elijah was a little guy, but he left a huge impact on all of us, and he will not be forgotten.
You know, Michael, it's such a double-edged sword. It is so sad to think it's now gone from a missing person to a death investigation. On the other hand, the unknown has been answered, and now begins the investigation to seek justice. He's been missing since February 20th of 2024.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, talking about finding him or finding the remains in a heavily wooded area. It was found on private property. There have been some misinformation about exactly where it was found. It used to be a public, they said it was a public campground, but actually it was private property. That was wrong. But here's the key, 3 miles northwest from where he was reported missing. And we do know that right now, Katrina Bauer, Jesse Vang being held on charges of child neglect. We didn't hear anything about charges in this case. But remember, Jesse Vang's story is that he was with him, he fell asleep, and when he woke up, the child was gone. So again, they need to dot their I's, cross their T's before they go and charge anyone to make sure that, you know, what happened to this young boy.
And there are going to be a lot of forensic questions. So we know there was a skull and bone that were identified as human remains, now identified as Elijah Vu. But Michael, what about the rest of the remains? And can they determine cause of death from that? It may be that there's too much decomposition. We don't know any of that yet. Certainly, that's part of that ongoing investigation.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're exactly right. I think what the results of whatever forensic information they're able to get from the remains will be very important to this investigation, figuring out how he died. Because what we do know about when he was with Jesse Vang is that his whole role in this young boy's life, it seemed, at this point, was to discipline him. And he was disciplining him in ways that just didn't make any sense. And rightfully so, he is being charged with child neglect and his mom as well. So again, that will tell us a lot. For forensic pathologist identified a forensic anthropologist was the one that did the testing. They ultimately did DNA testing and found out that they did in fact belong to Elijah Vu. And I just have to say, I agree with you 100% because I'm sitting here listening to what had happened, and I said to myself, is this a happy thing or a sad thing? Because again, there's closure, right, for the family, but the worst kind of closure, right? And sadness goes along with finding out.
Very sadness, respecting the family, respecting the privacy, the landowner, who certainly I don't think was involved at all. It's just where the body's been found or the remains were found.